Hi, my name is Steve Mulberry, and I'm a senior sales engineer for GISinc. And in today's recording, I want to walk you through how to wire up the applications and dashboards that you'll get with the new coronavirus business continuity solution recently offered from Esri. There's a lot to cover in the next 25 minutes or so let's get started. The business continuity solution is deployed to your ArcGIS organization, whether that's online or on-premise. And when you deploy this solution, you get a series of applications, maps, and feature layers to help support the applications. Now, these applications are used to give you a better understanding of the operational capacity within your workforce, help you monitor the status of your facilities, and then give you ways of communicating an information or communicating any disruptions to your customers, to your organization, and even to your stakeholders. And organizations like businesses or utilities or government agencies will find deploying this solution very useful in helping maintain that continuity between your facilities and your workforce. Now, within the solution, there are several dashboards and applications that you have access to. A couple for monitoring the status of personnel and facilities. Those will be presented to you in a dashboard form, similar to what you see here on the screen. And then there's going to be several applications to help you collect information and report back on that information, like individual and team check-in or facility reporter or facility status report applications. All of these tools will be given to you within this solution. If you're not familiar with Esri or the ArcGIS platform, there are a couple of things that you need to consider before you get started. In order to deploy the business continuity solution, you have to start off with ArcGIS Pro. ArcGIS Pro is Esri's flagship GIS desktop product, and you need to have at least version 2.3 to 2.5 basic, standard, or advanced. And you also have to have access to ArcGIS Online or a subscription to ArcGIS Online. Once you have those two in place, the solution will take advantage of some application templates that are part of the platform, like Survey 123, the Operations Dashboard, and Web App Builder for ArcGIS. So in getting started, there's basically four things that we're going to go through. We're going to install an add-in for ArcGIS Pro, which will allow us to deploy the solution and all the applications and dashboards and maps and the feature services that I talked about earlier. Then we're going to configure these solutions and load some information in there to help support these applications. So we're going to start off at the ArcGIS Solutions website. Just type in solutions.arcgis.com. It'll take you right there. And we're just going to search for the business continuity solution. And it should come up as the first link here. And I'm just going to click on that link. And this will take us to the home page, which gives us an overview of the solution, the requirements that I talked about, what you get within the applications. We talked about those applications and the maps that support those applications and so on. So it's all spelled out here nicely for you. And then there's this Get Started tab. And this is where we're going to walk through those four steps by installing the add-in, deploying the solution, configuring that solution, and then loading up the data. So the first thing we want to do is we want to start off by installing the add-in. Now, some of you may have already done this, but this add-in is required to deploy the solution. So step one just says, let's first download that solution. So you'll be presented with a website that you may or may not have to log in, depending if you've done this before. And then you can download the executable. So here's the executable. It's a small little zip file. So I'm going to download that. Once it's downloaded, I'm just going to go to the folder where I downloaded. Here, I went to the downloads folder, and I'm going to unzip that right here. And then I'm just going to double click on it to execute it. So we'll open up the folder. You'll see there's the add-in. And then you just double click on it, and it'll install that for you. It gives you a quick overview of this add-in. You just hit install add-in now. And I've already done this step once. so I don't need to do it again, but just install the add-in. It'll come back with a successful message, and then you can continue on. So the next step is to deploy the solution. So here I have ArcGIS Pro up and running, and I'm just going to, and you can start, you can open up an existing project, you can start a new project. I'm just going to start a project, an empty project. And once that's loaded up, you'll see under the share ribbon, you have this ArcGIS Solutions Deployment tool. And if you click that, it'll open up here on the left-hand side. And just a couple steps here to get this solution deployed. The first step is to make sure you're signed in to ArcGIS Online or your ArcGIS organization. And you can tell if you're logged in or not by going up here, and you can see that yes, indeed, I'm logged in. And for my demonstration purposes, I'm logged into my developer account. So the next step then is to deploy the solution. So when I click on this link, it's going to give me actually a list of all the solutions that are available for me to deploy to my organization. And right underneath the business tab here, the link, there's that coronavirus business continuity solution. So I can highlight that one. And down here, I'm going to type in a name that I want to use to store these applications and maps and feature layers for this particular solution. Now you can name that whatever you want, but for me, I'm just going to name it continuity here. I got it highlighted, I got my folder set, and I'm going to hit deploy. Now this is going to go out to the organization, the ArcGIS organization that I'm logged into, and start to deploy that complete solution and all the elements that are within that solution. So I'll let it run here. It takes a few minutes to get everything done. So I'll restart the recording once that's finished. Okay, we can see that it's finished down here, and if I go to my ArcGIS organization account, and we can see it create a new continuity folder for me, and inside that folder it placed all those applications and the dashboards and the web maps and those feature layers. It created the groups and made the right assignments for me, a couple pages worth of items that are needed to support this whole solution. Now if we go back to ArcGIS Pro, we can see that there's two more tasks that we could execute here, configuring the solution itself and then loading data. These two steps we will take place and take care of inside of our ArcGIS organization, but just know that you could continue this process and do some of the configuration of the solution and definitely some of the data loading processes right here within inside of ArcGIS Pro. And in fact, if you go back to the business continuity website and you click on get started and load your data, you'll see there's several steps that you could take to populate information inside of the solution. One of those is to copy and paste features, and there's step-by-step instructions on how to do that. One is to append data to information that's already there. Again, all inside of ArcGIS Pro. Both of those steps are inside of ArcGIS Pro. And then there's a third step here to load data from a spreadsheet. And this is the method we're going to use, and I'm going to walk you through this process here. But just know that you can use ArcGIS Pro to finish that process as well, or to help augment that process by loading some of the data there. So let's use the spreadsheet method. Let's go back to the content, and understanding that these two hosted feature layers are the core behind all of the applications and dashboards. Esri has provided two spreadsheets to help populate information in those hosted feature layers. Here's a CSV file for facility sources and one for personnel sources. And you can go into both of these, and you can actually download that CSV file and use that as a template. So just click on that link, go to the details page, and hit download, and download both those files. That's what I did. I've got both those files here. So I downloaded the facility source and the personnel source, and I went ahead and populated those but I'm going to show you what I did for each one of those. So let's look at the facility first. Let me bring that over here. So here you want to populate the information for your facilities. This could be a corporate office, branch offices, offsite location, things like that. But there's some basic information here that you want to track. Things like the name, the full address, municipality, phone numbers, operating hours. You can see here agency URL, the point of contact name. For that might be your office administrator or boss or something like that. I just put myself in there. Phone number, email, comments. Now, in the full address area, it just in the GIS world and space, we try to keep this as pure as possible. So I didn't put the suite number here, but I did put it over here in the comments. There's capacity for that facility, the country, the region, the area. You can populate those, but the key here is getting the latitude and longitude or the XY of the coordinate for that place, and you can use other methods to go in there. You can go to ArcGIS Pro and just click on the map and get those coordinates. But make sure you populate that, and populate this with as many facilities as you want to track. I'm only going to do one. Let's look at the personnel spreadsheet. I'll bring that over. There's a couple fields of information here to populate. Name, team, and the office location. You can put as many records in here as you need to and assign them to the right teams and the right offices if you have more than one offices and teams and things like that. The key to this spreadsheet is this username field. This needs to match. So each user has a unique username inside of ArcGIS, inside your ArcGIS organization. And this username needs to match that username as they would be in logging into that environment. So it can tie the two together. So just make sure that you have the right username, the ArcGIS Online username for each individual before you get started. So back in my organization, I'm going to start with appending both those spreadsheets to the hosted feature layers for facilities and personnel. And you can start with either one of these, but I'll just go into the personnel first. And within here, in the details page, there's going to be an update tab that allows you to append data to the layer itself. So here you can see it has instructions here to go out and find your CSV file or other mechanisms, other data sets that you can upload. So I'll browse to that personnel spreadsheet. Hit OK there, and I'm going to upload and continue. What it's going to do is analyze my information and allow me to then set up some parameters for how I'm going to upload that information. Now it's given me a list of the 2 layers within that feature service, and I'm not going to do the check-in because that's what's being populated from the survey, but I am going to upload the personnel information. And since I'm not overriding existing information, nothing in there exists right now, I'm going to uncheck that box. But I do want to say show field matching. I want to make sure that my spreadsheet is matching the same fields within the hosted feature layer item. And we can see it definitely does. It should, because it's the same spreadsheet that we used to create to begin with. So I just want to make sure, but I could use a different spreadsheet of information as long as I make sure that the items match. Those field matchings take place here. And then I just hit apply updates. It'll come back with updates applied successfully and good. If I want to validate that, I can go back into the data itself and let's check in on that personnel information layer, and we can see that now I do have that information a part of my hosted feature layer, which is perfect. So let's do the same thing now for facilities. We'll go back to the content page and we'll activate our facilities. So go to the second page, get our facilities, and we'll go through the same process of appending data to that hosted feature layer. So I'm going to click on the update data, append data to layer, browse to my facility source CSV file, open up that, Upload and continue. I'm going to make sure again that I have the right layer selected. I'm not appending to existing features, and I want to make sure that all my fields match up here. And we can see that they don't all match up, so I want to make sure that I get that there. So my latitude and my longitude fields match up there, and I'm going to again just validate, make sure everything looks good, hit update, apply updates, and let that process finish. We can see now we have successfully appended new data. Let's go validate that real quick. And we can see definitely have a corporate office and all the information there, and that coordinate was the key because it established that spatial location there. Now we validated that the data is there, but we can also hit the visualization tab here to again make sure that that coordinate, that latitude and longitude coordinate, did map itself correctly. And so you hit the visualization tab, you'll see the symbology there for the corporate office, and there's the corporate office there in Birmingham, Alabama. So now we know that the information has been appended correctly to both of those hosted feature layers. And if I had additional branch offices or other office locations, they would also show up within this visualization tab. Okay, so our next step then is to go through the process of validating that the survey works and that information is being gathered. So if we go back to our content screen and find our personnel check-in or individual check-in form, and there's three forms that we're going to go through. The individual check-in form, there's a couple ways you can execute this form to kind of test it out. You can actually say just open up in a browser and start to run it right through here. I like to do it from my phone as well, just to make sure things are working. So I'm going to bring my phone over here and I'm going to log in. You can see I have survey 123 up top there, so I'll just click on survey. And this is how it kind of works. Now the first thing I do is make sure I'm connected. You can see I have an existing form from a previous solution that I installed. But I can go up here and I can make sure I'm connected. You can see that I am connected as Steve Mulberry, and I'm going to download survey. So I will click that button up top there, and it shows me that facility status report, the team check-in, individual check-in. So I'm going to hit the cloud button on the individual check-in and download that application, that form. Okay, successfully downloaded. Go back to my surveys. Now we should see it there, and I'm just going to click on that individual check-in form. And the first thing I can do is just start collecting information. So down at the bottom, I'll hit collect, and you'll see that form load. Now this form comes, a survey comes pre-configured, but you can actually change the fields and information that's being collected here. And we'll talk about that later on. But I'm just going to go through the steps right here and just answer a few of the questions just to test out the information. So the first question, are you working today? I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say normal work location or temporary working from home. Let's just do that, temporary working from home. Are you working with anybody today? If I hit yes, it's going to give me the option to type in the names or the usernames of those. So I can do the list, the full names of the individuals and put that here. I'll hit no. Am I showing any symptoms of COVID-19? I can do that. Any family members exposed or showing symptoms? No. And then any other additional information that I may need to send in to my organization, and I'll just hit the checkbox there, and then I'll send that information in now. And so that data is now being pushed over to the platform. So let's move this out of the way here. So one thing I like to do is just to validate data's coming in. I'll go back to the content pane and I will go to that personnel feature layer, and we'll check the data tab. So whereas before we saw that there was one person in there, myself, I should now see one record for check-in. And now we can see definitely we have a check-in now, and the information that was gathered during that process of filling out the form comes across there nicely. Now, the next thing I need to do is link the facility survey form to the facility web maps. And so I'm going to go back to my content section. I'm going to find my facility status report form. This is my survey form. If I go into the item details, I can grab this unique ID right here, this item identifier. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go back to my content, and I'm going to open up two web maps and make a small configuration adjustment. So inside the facilities status dashboard web map and the facility status reporter web map, I'm going to open up both of those in a new tab. And I'm going to go inside of each one of them and make this small configuration change. So inside the facility status dashboard, I'm going to open up my facility status reports and go into the configure pop-up window. And inside here, there's an expression assigned to the status report, the survey. So I'm going to click on that and then click on the gears icon there to open up the configuration. This is Arcade. And I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to populate this survey ID. So I'll put that within quotes and make sure that I paste in that unique identifier. If you want to, you can hit test to make sure you get back a string response. And everything looks good, so we'll hit OK. I'll hit OK. Then I'll hit save. And I'll do the same thing. I'll close that out. Do the same thing for the facility status reporter. And so here I'll open up facilities layer, go to my configure pop-up. Here there's that submit status report expression. Go into the expression. You can see I've done that here already for you for this video. Okay, so we're all good. We can hit OK. Hit OK, make sure I save, and we're set. Now let's make sure that the facility status reporter is actually working. So I can go into this facility status reporter web application. So I'm opening that up inside of a new tab. And in here, when it loads, we should see the one facility that I configured, our corporate office. And I should be able to identify on that location and see some information about that based on what I filled out in the data. So we can see that indeed I got the suite 105, the address, operating hours, facility contact ones myself, so on and so forth. But what I can do is I can submit a status report for that facility. And if I had more facilities, I could click on any one of them and update the status report for them. So this opens up an actual survey form, allows me to go through and set some information for that. So we can see it's the corporate office. I'm going to say it's open. Let's say number of staff working. Let's just put some test data in here. Let's say we've got 15 working remotely. So maybe we have a couple absent. Operating with essential staff. Let's just say yes. Staff required to stay overnight. No. Right. Some basic information here. Let's say facility entrance is staffed. Yes. Building secured. Yes. Access restriction. Yes. And I could, additional information will pop up here. Let's just hit no for this case. I could add in some additional information. Status of working hours. Let's just say normal. Scheduled to be closed. No. Any government restrictions? No. Additional comments, and we'll hit submit. So we'll see that information now will get populated into the feature service. You see data was sent successfully. Good. We're set there. Now what I can do is to validate that information was actually entered in, is to make sure the dashboard's working for the facility. So right here's my facility status dashboard. I'm going to open up that inside of a new tab. And when it loads, we should see the information populate for that one facility. Now if I had multiple ones there, we'll see the different pieces of information. So here we go. We got one facility report. How many are closed, how many are scheduled to close, scheduled to open, number of facilities, staff in office, staff working remotely, staff absent, and I can expand this box over here, and I can switch between the different offices or different facilities that I have, different countries if I have facilities in different countries or regions, and then just report on what's happening over the last date period, and other parameters here within the database. So we now see that the facility dashboard is now tied together, the survey is working, and I can populate the information. So the last piece of this puzzle is to verify that the personnel dashboard is up and running. So I'm going to go back to my content page, and we've already validated that the facilities status dashboard is working, but there's this personnel status dashboard. So open that up in a new tab, and as it loads, it should give me all the information that was just submitted by that form. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the details page. So what I need to do is just view the dashboard, and now that should open up for me. Okay, so you can see it's loading. You can see the information now starting to populate. For me, in that check-in incident that I just created, you can see some of the elements here of information showing working location or from home, absent, offsite, health status, the check-ins, information about the individual. I can also, over here on the left, I can filter the information based on these parameters. If I want to look at just individuals versus teams, I can pick just certain offices or facilities or teams. So all this stuff will start to populate as I start entering information in for facilities and the employees and so on and so forth. So that covers the installation configuration process here. So let's kind of review here real quick. So if we jump back to our presentation, let's kind of give a quick summary. We installed the ArcGIS Pro add-in, right, that solution deployment add-in to allow us to deploy the coronavirus business continuity solution. We deployed that solution and all the maps and apps and dashboards associated with that. We went in and configured the different elements of the solution, some of the feature services, some of the maps. We loaded some data in. We used a spreadsheet method to append some data for the facilities and for the personnel. And then we used the Survey 123 forms to start populating some information. So I also want to kind of highlight that on Thursday, April 2nd, there's going to be a meetup hosted by Scott Altman, who's going to discuss further detail about the business continuity solution. So both of these recordings, if you don't get a chance to listen to this one on Thursday, then you'll be able to hit both of these recordings. So I appreciate you taking time to listen, and if you have any questions or want to reach out to us at GISinc, please do so. We can help you get through these solutions. Thank you.